Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Is this thing on? Oh, good.
I am so viscerally afraid of accidentally texting the chief of police. Kind of weird, that's all she wrote. You are in my thoughts and prayers in perpetuity. Now, mind you, I don't even have the chief of police's phone number, and why would I? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Monologuing. I'm Mads Mitch, and I am your host today, and always, because, well, quite frankly, this is literally my podcast, so who else is going to host it? Happy freaking Monday. It is Monday, October 27th, question mark, I believe. Yes, it is. Happy Monday, October 27th. I hope you had a fabulous weekend. I hope you're feeling well rested and rejuvenated and ready to tackle whatever life might throw at you this week, and I don't think that that's asking too much of your favorite podcast host. Deep breath, sigh of relief. I am so excited for this week's episode. It is a family tradition here at Monologuing. Well, formerly it was a Parchcore Convos tradition. It is a tradition that we will be carrying with us into Monologuing. It's a prison guard tradition, tale as old as time. We are sharing ghost stories by the fire, and I love that for us. I love this episode. I nothing hits quite like spooky stories in broad daylight in the morning time, and then throwing your phone away and then resting peacefully because you've forgotten all the stories by the time that you go to bed. That is so important. That is so important. So consider this your trigger warning. I don't want this episode to give you nightmares, so don't listen to it at night if you think that'll be the case. Just or if you're really brave, that's a weird flex. Okay. These are scary. These are some scary stories. I unfortunately don't have any life updates because I just recorded last week's episode 30 seconds ago. So not much has changed. But I am traveling this week, which is why I'm batching episodes. So, nothing new really to report. Do I have anything new to report? Have I watched any new shows? I definitely didn't talk about that last time. I don't think I have. I'm so sorry. I really don't think I have. No, I don't think I have. This is reminding me, actually, I'm recording this episode, 10 days in advance. I need to watch some like Halloween-y things. So maybe this is your sign to watch some Halloween-y things as well. I saw a girl on the plane the other day was watching Hocus Pocus, and I was like, I haven't watched Hocus Pocus in years. I need to do like a Hocus Pocus night. I need to have a Hocus Pocus night. What else? I'm trying to think of anything else that I can. Wait, I did write some things down. Maybe I forgot to say something in my last episode. I did. I forgot to say one thing. I have wounds. That's what I wrote down. Wounds. As you all know, I like this, and this is my spooky story. Okay, this is my spooky story, is that I wore cowboy boots on day one of ACL that I've never worn before. And that was crazy of me, and I knew it was going to end poorly. I really did. I really, really did, which is so crazy. But they were so comfortable. They, Brahmi got us cowboy boots, which is crazy. And they were so cute, and they fit me like a glove. Like, I was like, these are the most comfortable cowboy boots ever. And so I wasn't planning on wearing cowboy boots, except I brought these pink ones, whatever. But I wasn't planning on wearing cowboy boots that weekend. But I just decided, like, it is so the vibe, and they're here, and they fit me, and they go so well with my outfit that I had planned for that day. So I was like, I feel stupid not to wear them, right? And so I did wear them. Yeah. So it tore up my heel. I got the world's fattest blisters on my heel. That was fun. I think that was all that happened that night. So it wasn't terrible, but it was the location of the blister that I'm thinking, I can't wear any other shoe at all ever without it hitting this blister because of where the blister was. Like, it's just like it is an area where every single shoe that I own is going to be like rubbing up against it. And I still had 2 days left of this festival. So yikes on my part, mega yikes. And so then the next day I was like, what shoes should I wear? And I had brought these like sneakers, but the sneakers were like too tight almost on my foot, and it was really hurting the blister. And then I also had brought these pink cowboy boots that I panic purchased like the day before I left because I was like, I think that's going to be everyone's vibe. And I don't know. And so I was freaking out about it. So I had these pink cowboy boots. Now the important things about these is like, these were like cheap these weren't like real cowboy boots. The ones that I wore the first day were like real authentic, like leather cowboy boots. These ones were not that in any way, shape, or form. So I'm like, maybe these ones won't be as destructive because they're not like heavy duty by any means. Like they're so lightweight, like they're so cheap. And actually they did not hurt my blisters at all. And I was like, wow, this is such a win. I think it was actually because I had to size up in them. So they weren't tight on my foot at all, which was so convenient because my feet like needed a second to breathe. So I wore those. What ended up happening though is those ones, they weren't like a super tall boot. They were like, they went to like my mid calf, I would say. And the fun thing about those boots is they, at my mid calf, decided let's just tear up her mid calf. I don't know if there were saw blades on the tops of these boots. I have no idea. I will have, kid you not, I will have scars. No, I'm not joking. I am currently looking down. I have 4 Band-Aids like this large, so large, extra large Band-Aids on both sides of each of my calves. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like I'm in so much pain. And last night I was experiencing this really fun thing where like around the Band-Aid, the area around the Band-Aid was so itchy because the Band-Aid had just been on for so long. And so it was like, I need to like take this Band-Aid off. Like I need to like let my skin breathe, but I could not sleep without a Band-Aid on because it was stinging. It was so painful. I was in so much pain, just simply so much pain. And then I had to, the next day I was like, now what shoes do I wear? Because now my calves are literally torn up to shreds. And also I have these blisters on my heels. So that was fun. I ended up wearing the pink cowboy boots again because they were the most comfortable for the blisters. It was the best case scenario. And I ended up wearing high socks with them. So they weren't rubbing against my legs anymore. And I was wearing like big Band-Aids. So like I was weirdly like the most comfortable on day 3, which no one ever could have seen that one coming. But yeah, that is my Halloween horror story. Boots. I don't know. Is this a thing that like, I mean, it must be a thing because I know I have extremely blister prone feet and I don't understand why. Who do I see about that? Like a podiatrist? Is it a podiatrist? Is it a dermatologist? I don't know, but I'm biblically needing to see a specialist about that. But before we get into the spooky stories of it all, if you've never listened to one of our spooky stories episodes, you have so many backlogged. And words are so hard. Backlogged. And I have my own fair share of horror stories, of spooky stories, and I have shared mine in the past, and people get mad at me when I retell them. So I'm not going to do that. But I will dive into yours, but just know there's so many more where that came from. Okay. But without further ado, let's get into it. Okay. When my mom was a child, she and her family went on a hike and stayed over in a cabin. The door and windows were locked. My gran woke up in the middle of the night to a scratching sound, and suddenly a baboon/gorilla type creature jumped on her, starting at her feet and leaping all the way onto her chest. She screamed and someone turned on the light, and there was no one/nothing else in the room besides her and her family. The next day, my aunt and uncle went to look at the visitor's book, and people had written, "Please get the Ghostbusters here." So evidently they were not the only ones that had a creepy encounter there. I've never, ever, ever, ever heard of a gorilla ghost. Now that I have, I'm going to be seeing the world in a different light. Parentheses, derogatory. And I hate that. But like, how do you get over that? How do you get over a ghost gorilla attacking you in the night? I do think one of the most like compelling things about these ghost stories is when you experience something or someone experiences something and then it's like immediately validated by something else. I think that is like the creepiest thing ever. Like the fact that she experienced that and then you also happen to check the log and it says like, "Get Ghostbusters here." That makes it so much more real and so much more scary to me. Not that I wouldn't have believed your grandmother. I would have. But I just think to have it validated and to have it be like, oh, more than one person feels the same way that I do. so spooky. I hate everything about that. Several years ago, I was shopping for some Christmas decorations and picked out, I'm like, wrong episode. This is the Halloween episode, babe, okay? And picked out this standing white and gold reindeer. When I was checking out at the cash register, the cashier looked at it and then looked at me and said, "Just so you know, people keep returning this because they say it's haunted." What do you mean? No. First of all, as a cashier, why are you saying that to someone? That would spook me out so much. I mean, I get, you must feel really, they must have felt really passionately about it. Like, you don't want it. Like, don't take it. It's haunted. Thinking she was just being cheeky, I laughed and said, "Well, now I want it even more." And she looked at me really funny, and I realized maybe she wasn't joking. Nevertheless, I purchased the reindeer, and for a couple of holiday seasons, it stood on top of a bookshelf in my living room uneventfully. Last year, when I decorated for Christmas, I moved the reindeer to a different spot in my living room. On several occasions, I walked through the living room to the kitchen and glanced at the reindeer as I passed it. Not 5 seconds later, I would pass it again, and it would have rotated itself a full 180 degrees. No. I just got chills. Okay. I had it standing at an angle facing one way, and I would look and it would be facing the complete opposite angle. Literally within seconds of me looking at it, and then it would turn back and it would change position. Literally within seconds of me looking at it and turning my back, it would change positions. It happened like 3 or 4 times. Then I started to tell people about it, and I think it didn't like that because it only moved on its own one more time after that. And the last time it went from standing at its angle to facing directly out at me like it was threatening me. Everyone tells me that I should burn it, but I think it's cute and I'm not afraid of a ghost. So here in just a few weeks, it will come back out for the season and we'll see what antics it gets up to. No, thank you. No, that freaks me out. That really freaks me out. What does that mean? I want you to like take it to a medium or something. Like we need to figure out like what is the lore behind this reindeer? Why is it doing that? Hey man, why is my reindeer haunted? I don't, is it spookier when inanimate objects do it? I think it kind of is. No, it isn't. Ghost gorillas are definitely scarier. Sorry, I'm going back and forth. I'm mulling it over in my head. The house that I grew up in was pretty big and built in the early 1900s. It had a bunch of bedrooms and a secret stairwell for maids back in the day. So baller yet spooky vibes all around. I lived there until I was 23 years old, and on the very last night of living in that house, my dad casually mentioned that him and my mom have seen ghosts there. They threw a Halloween party the first year they lived there, and my dad saw a man in a coat and a bowler hat the entire night, but he was always in the background, and he didn't talk to anybody, but he was always around and walking throughout the house. He asked my mom at the end of the night who he was, and my mom said she never saw the person that fit that description. He called his friends the next day and they had the same answer. My dad never saw him again, so I guess the ghost just wanted to join the housewarming party. Then apparently my brother and I would always say that there was a cowboy standing behind my parents when we were little kids. Like they'd be putting us to bed and we would separately say the cowboy was back and standing behind them without ever having talked to each other about it. That's what I'm saying. Scary. Craziest part to me was that my parents accidentally keeping this a secret for 23 years and then telling us on the last night in the house. Love you and the pod queen. No. I mean, it sounds like your ghosts were harmless. They never did anything weird. They were just there. Like the man showing up at the party, like he was just there. You know what I mean? He didn't do anything. And the cowboy, I guess he just wanted to like say hi, which is kind of sweet and kind of wholesome, I guess. Me trying to convince myself that no, it's fine. When I was younger, I had a ghost in my house that was only attached to me. I would see it walk by. It would touch my hair when I was falling asleep. One time it pulled my pillow out from under my head. I lost several things during the night, like a bracelet, my pillow, and I'm pretty sure the ghost took them. I never really was afraid, so I don't know if it counts as a spooky story. Wow. That's kind of like those stories that you hear about how kids aren't really afraid of ghosts. Like a kid will just be like, "Oh, look, there's Billy." And there's simply no other person in the room, but it's like the kid isn't afraid of Billy. The kid's just like, "Oh, there's ghost Billy." So I guess that's a good thing. I guess like for children, like ignorance really is bliss. And like, I guess they don't have any like frame of reference of how actually like gut wrenchingly terrifying that is, which is probably a good thing. Yeah, it's probably a good thing. Hey, Maddie, love you and the pod. Thank you so much. Okay. A few summers ago, I went to Bar Harbor with a few friends for the week. Shout out to Acadia National Park, the best place on earth. On our last night, we decided to do the walking ghost / haunted history tour. It was really fun, and even though I am about to give a detailed description of what you see on the tour, I would still highly recommend anyone going to Bar Harbor. I would recommend it to anyone going to Bar Harbor. Naturally, the tour takes us to a lot of places where ghosts have both been seen and heard before. There was one stop in a cemetery where people say that they have been touched on their legs while walking through it at night. However, I refuse to walk through because I have the utmost respect for the dead and I would never desecrate a cemetery. But all my friends did walk through it. I love that you're just like judging all of your friends. All my friends did it. I would fucking never do that. It's so disrespectful. We also walked into a haunted theater and down a street where tons of apparitions have been seen before. At the end of the tour, they take you down to the Agamont Park, which is right on the water, and tell you a story about a woman who lost her son to a rogue wave. Legend has it she walks the shores of the island looking / calling out for him. They also play an audio clip of someone capturing a disembodied voice that they claim belongs to this woman. It was very creepy. And again, as someone who does not fuck around with the dead, I was trying to be respectful and not mock. My friends, however, did not exercise the same respect. Not you telling on your friends now. Okay. I can't remember the name of the woman or her son, but one of my friends was mocking them by calling out their names on the walk back to the house. It sounds like you're like not friends with these people anymore. The tour ends and we get back to the house and where everything is fine. We all go to bed early since it's our last night there and we had to get up at 4 a.m. to head back home. At this point, we have all been there for a week and did not have a single issue with the house at all for the entire time we were there. But for some reason, we all wake up that night at exactly 3 a.m. to every single smoke detector going off in the house. It creeped me out so badly. I'm not saying we brought something back into the house, but to me, it was way too strange to be a coincidence, and I low-key blame my friends for mocking the dead during the tour for this. That is spooky. That is really, really, really fucking spooky. I will give you that. I also think it's just like in times like that, or like hearing ghost stories or talking about things like that, and then you go to bed, it's like everything is so heightened, like you are so hyper aware of everything that like the littlest thing would send me over the edge and I would probably be reading into it. But that is like such a blatant, like in your face over, like, holy shit, okay. And I hate that for you. I really, really hate that for you. That is so scary. So everyone be aware if you're going on a ghost tour, do not mock. I feel like most people wouldn't. I don't think most people would even attempt to be mocking the dead during a ghost tour because they have the upper hand in that situation. So just take them seriously. I know you had experienced something similar, but I had a ghost in my freshman year dorm. Yes, I have. People had died in that dorm, sadly. Same. But this ghost would knock things off the shelves in a way that was impossible for them to just fall. Maybe it just wanted attention. Anyways, love the pod, and I'm an OG prison guard from like 2023, and I love the monologuing rebrand. Thank you. That's so kind. Yeah, that is crazy. That's crazy, and I do relate to that because I had pretty much the exact same situation. It was nice because I think it always felt very, like it felt like I never felt scared really because of it. It was just like, whoa, that was crazy. And I think for me, a lot of it was after the fact, except for like one thing. Like it was like I would notice things later and I'd be like, that's weird because I didn't leave that there. You know what I mean? But I didn't necessarily see things happen except for the lamp. There was a lamp that I literally saw just start moving on its own, which that was crazy. It was like as if someone knocked into the lamp. Other than that, I think everything that I ever saw was like random things would be out of place, like my shoes on the bed, like random things like that. But I like would wake up and the shoes would be on the bed. So it's like I wasn't scared because it's like it had already happened. Like the ghost had already been there. Do you know what I mean? And so I feel like that was, if I was seeing it happen more, I think that would have freaked me out more. But I feel like it was fine. It was fine. Hi, Maddie. Love your pod. My ride to work on Mondays is a million times better when I'm listening to you. Thank you. So when I moved into my house, my daughter was 3 years old. No, I'm scared. She had made comments prior to this about seeing a figure in the hallway or in her room, and I tried my best to just pretend that she didn't say that because because I had just gone 300K into debt buying this house. For the love of God, please don't let it be haunted. Yeah, that's valid. So anyways, my husband travels for work. No, all of this together. No, the 3-year-old's daughter, is that what you said? 3-year-old daughter claiming to see a ghost, new house that you move into, and your husband travels for work. Sorry, you have the trifecta. You have the trifecta. You are part of a ghost movie. This is a horror movie. I'm scared. So anyways, my husband travels for work sometimes, so I was home alone one night with my kids. My daughter couldn't sleep and came to my room to tell me that there was someone under her bed. No. So I get up and I go to her room with a flashlight to show her that there's not a person under the bed. I shine the light and said, "See, honey, nobody's under there." And she replied by saying, "I know, because now he's standing behind you." My heart just about fell out of my ass at that point as I brought her into my room to sleep. The next day, I did my research on evacuating ghosts from my house. I lit some sage, said some prayers, and accepted in my heart that I may have to coexist with a ghost. I think my exorcism worked because she has never talked about seeing ghosts again after that. Here's hoping he has no interest in us anymore. That's insane. That is seriously fucking insane. No. It's the kids. I'm sorry. Kids are the creepiest thing on the face of the planet. Kids are so scary when it comes to ghosts. Why are kids so weird about ghosts? If my child ever looked me dead in my eyes and was like, "Look," and there's nothing there, no. No. I don't know what it is. Do they have like it's kind of like, because dogs can sense ghosts. Is it like that? Is that a thing? That kids also... I don't know, because they're lower to the ground. Their center of gravity is lower. Is that what it is? I'm trying to think of the only similarities I can think of between kids and dogs. That's about, they're both short. They're both pretty short. Is that what it is? They're like closer to the ghost realm. I have no idea. That's crazy. I don't like it at all. Okay. This one's a long one, so buckle up. Hi, my friend sent this prompt to me as I've been trying to get someone to tell this story for a long time. Kind of a long one, but I'll make it as quick as I can. I'm Kara, I'm 32, and the story still shakes me and anyone I've told this story to the core. I was 19 and babysitting now. Any ghost story that takes place whilst babysitting, you deserve financial compensation 100%. Like you deserve a lump sum in the mail. That's not okay. Okay. I was 19 and babysitting for this specific family for around 3 years, long enough to know the sounds of the house, the kids, the family, the neighborhood. In 3 years, I'd never had an incident, but I also need to mention the house itself. It was built in the 1800s in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, a very rich neighborhood outside of Detroit. It's a fabulous stone house with multiple levels, bedrooms, hallways, hideaways, hallways and staircases for the help, yuck, and doors upon doors to all of these different rooms. The front foyer entered in the middle of the house. To the direct right, there's a dining room and the kitchen attached. To the left of the foyer was a long room, the white room, which had elegant furniture and glass and gold accented pieces, a huge fireplace and the biggest mirror I've ever seen in my life. I'm scared about that mirror. Hung on the wall above the bar/counter along the wall. Okay. Attached to the white room was 2 rooms back to back, the fountain room, and then the regular old family TV room in the back corner. God, so many rooms. Okay, so story time. It was about 11 p.m. when I first heard the noise. It sounded to me like little feet running down the hall. No. And then the shaking of the stairs banister is ultimately what got me off the couch in the TV room. I knew the noises of the house like I previously mentioned, so I immediately thought that the daughter, about 5 years old at the time, had gotten out of bed. I walked to the foyer, laughing and talking aloud like... I'm inserting girl's name here. I'm coming up with it on the spot. Emily, what are you doing up? As I rounded the corner, the noises stopped and no one was there. I went upstairs, still kind of giggling, thinking she had run back to her room when I started talking to her from downstairs. I go into her room and she's sound asleep on the bed. Not one blanket moved or pillow shifted from where I'd left her at 8:30 that evening. Weird. Okay. So I go downstairs because as an adult, and someone with some sense to me, I thought maybe it was just my imagination. No, I would never be able to convince myself of that. Maybe it was the TV, maybe just Maybe I didn't hear anything at all. Shaken, I go back to the TV room to settle myself and continue my show. About an hour later, I'm now laying on my side watching TV in the back room. The way I was laying on my right side, I could see the TV, but I could also see through the French doors ahead of me into the white room. Across the room is the giant mirror I'd mentioned before, flanked by two crystal lamps that have always been there and on for as long as I've been babysitting in this home. As I'm laying there, I notice I just saw a shadow on the ground and it freaked me out. Okay. As I'm laying there, I notice a shadow through the glass door. So as I register the shadow, I begin to sit up. At the same time, the shadow bends over to look at me in the open door. Just as I say, "Oh, hi, I didn't even hear you come in," I quickly realize that the man looking at me is not the dad. So it's a shadow of a man with a hat, and as quickly as I launch myself up to sit and not lay, he tilts himself right side up and walks back towards the foyer. Mind you, these are glass doors I'm seeing this through, so I see it all. Him, the shadow, and this, I'm like being dyslexic right now. Him, the shadow, and the slow walk away. I don't know what that means. By this point, I'm on my feet and at the door to the white room. I know immediately in my heart that I just saw a man or something, and I run through the white room to the foyer and freeze. No one is there. Mostly a blur from here, but I called my mom and told her someone was in the house. She told me to take the back door into the backyard if I was positive someone was in the house and call the police. I did neither of these things. It's almost as if I knew I saw a ghost. I waited for the parents to arrive about 30 minutes later and I left still very much shaken. The kicker, my mom worked for the dad of the family and they were both doctors, well educated, him and his wife, with wonderful smart children and by all means normal people. My mom went to work the next day and stopped the dad. My daughter had an incident at the house last night. Before she could finish, he said, "Who did she see?" No, that's the creepiest thing to say to someone ever. My mom pauses. "Who did she see?" He says, "Who did she see? The woman in the dress or the man in the hat?" My mom says, "The man," to which he responds, "In the white room near the mirror?" He told my mom that he sees people often, but neither his wife nor his children have ever mentioned seeing anyone. Also said that he has seen that man many times, mostly at night, but sometimes during the day, and always in the same room, the white room, and either near or in the mirror. I was not allowed to tell anyone in the family, and it didn't matter anyways because I don't recall ever babysitting there again. You could never have paid me to babysit there again. No. Now I know how insane this all sounds, but I need you to know that I am 100% serious, 100% honest, and 100% still terrified of that encounter to this day. The women in my family have always been intuitive and sometimes to a fault. But there is nothing on earth that will change my memory of that day. Thank you for reading. Love you and all that you do. I need to take a beat after that. That's fucking insane. That is insane. See, this is what I'm talking about that makes it so much scarier is her mom said nothing to this man except oh, she had an incident at the house. And he says, "Oh yeah, the man in the hat." No, that is all of the proof that I've ever needed in the world. And again, I believe anyone who thinks that they've seen a ghost wholeheartedly. But that makes it so much more real. That solidifies it so much more and in a way that is truly, truly terrifying. That's interesting that house is super old too. I would be so curious to know the lore of what's happened here, because I feel like some things have happened there and that kind of spooks me out. Okay. Hi, Mads. Love you and the pod. My spookiest story happened when I was in 5th grade. For reference, I'm getting my master's now, and this still sticks with me. It was a pretty common belief that our school building was haunted. Students, teachers, and admin all thought so. One day, my class had a sub, and we were in the middle of some activity when a girl ran out of the classroom. She looked unfamiliar. The only feature I distinctly remember was that she had long, dark hair. Nobody really saw her come in, and some of us, including the sub, saw her run out and slam the door. Thinking it was a student, the sub had me and another classmate check the hallway to have her come back to class. We got up right away to go look, but the hallway was totally empty. Anyways, happy Halloween. No, I'm sorry. Just a spooky ghost school child. I'm not I'm really not in the mood for that, actually. Just runs out of the classroom. That's so terrifying. And obviously looked like a person. Do you know what I mean? Like, for the fact that the sub was like, okay, go check the hall, like, obviously looked so real. And it doesn't make sense that it could be anything else, because if it was like a student in your class, it would be like, okay, where did Sally go? But like, no one is thinking that. That's so scary. Like, no one's missing in the class. You know what I mean? That's scary. Okay. I was 3, having a sleepover at my grandparents' house. I crawled into bed with them early in the morning. We were just laying in bed chatting, and I sat straight up in bed and pointed at the corner of the room where the walls met the ceiling and said very clearly, "Peter." No. Everyone was so confused until my grandma got a call a few hours later saying that her brother Peter had passed away in his sleep early that morning. I had never met him, but my grandma has always told me that he was stopping by to say hi to me before heading to heaven. No, that is like, okay, it's really sweet. That's actually a really sweet ghost story, but that is terrifying. And again, you can't make it up, because like, where would this 3-year-old child be like, Peter? Like, how, what is that? Kids don't do that. Wow. That is crazy. That's really, really crazy. But honestly, very sweet and very wholesome. I love happy ghost stories. Haley Rawl of the Girls Camp podcast, she just did like I forget what she called it, like a happy ghost stories episode, or like where it's like, I think it's stories such as the Peter story. And I'm very excited to listen to that, because I do love stories like that as well. I think that those are very, very sweet and wholesome, and maybe like a good way to cleanse your palate after listening to some spooky stories. But I'm sorry that this is a quick episode this week. Like I said, I'm batching a ton of episodes, so I'm trying to just bang them all out as quickly as possible so I can get these edited and scheduled for you, so we don't have to miss anything. So thank you for bearing with me as I am in the process of doing that. I hope you have a fabulous week, and thank you so much to everyone who wrote in. I will chat with you next Monday, and that's all she wrote. Bye.